Wargamers. Today I want to talk about the Barracuda AX-5-2. That's the new fancy Barracuda that was released just a little while ago. At the tail end of 7th edition, it was pretty good, and things have changed for the better and for worse in the new edition. So we're going to be looking at Imperial Amour Index Xenos here. And before we do that, though, I want to say thanks for watching. If you like the video, go ahead, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell. That way you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. All right, so let's get started. Like I said, Barracuda used to be pretty solid, and now it's undergone some changes. It's basically just a flying hammerhead, and the big reason why it's changed is because flyers have changed in general. So it suffers all the benefits and all the consequences of the changes to how flyers work with 8th edition, especially now that it's only -1 to hit. It's a lot more questionable whether or not you want to bring one, but it still has some assets to it, and we'll talk about that here. So basically it has a movement of 12 to 65 inches at full health, which is pretty fast, right? 6-up weapon skill, again, not that we really care about that. 3-up ballistic skill, so it's better than the average Tau gun line or stat line for a gunner, anything like that. It's hitting on 3s, but it doesn't have a target lock, so for the most part it's going to be hitting on 4s anyway. It's not as good as a hammerhead in terms of its ballistic skill, especially when you have long strike, so keep that in mind. Strength 6, toughness 7, 14 wounds, 3 attacks, leadership 7, and a 3-up save. So basically it has some meat to it. It has some offensive capability, but it's not insane or anything like that. It comes equipped with a heavy burst cannon, 2 long-barreled burst cannons, and 2 missile pods. You're familiar with missile pods probably. Long-barrel burst cannons are range 36, heavy 4, strength 5, 1 damage each. And a heavy burst cannon is range 36 inches, heavy 8, strength 6, -1 AP, and 1 damage. So that's a solid weapon. Definitely pretty good right off of the bat there. And like I said, because it doesn't come with a target lock, both of those weapons are going to be suffering a -1 to hit penalty when you're moving, which is going to be always. This isn't a aircraft that can hover or anything like that, so it's always going to be -1 for moving, meaning that's effectively ballistic skill 4 at full health for that loadout. But there are some things that we can do about that. It has the typical flyer special rules: airborne, supersonic, hard to hit, crash and burn. But it also has a 5-up invulnerable save thanks to the Barracuda dispersion field. So that's actually a huge benefit. You can't get an invulnerable save on a hammerhead. You can get an invulnerable save here. It makes this guy a lot more durable than you might think, especially because a lot of vehicles are targeted with high AP, high damage weapons, and that 5-up invulnerable save is really going to come in handy. So that's good. As far as options go, you can basically switch out that heavy burst cannon for a Swift Strike railgun or a ion cannon. Swift Strike railgun, range 36, heavy 2, strength 8, -4 AP, D6 damage, and then it does the same thing as a heavy rail rifle in terms of doing an additional mortal wound. That's decent, but for the points, you're going to have a lot better efficiency with hammerheads. They're more accurate, they're cheaper. I would just go with a hammerhead if you want to bring railguns. But if you want to bring an ion cannon, I think this is actually a really good platform for it. Ion cannon is the same type of ion cannon you can put on a hammerhead, whereas the railgun is not the same type, right? The railgun for a hammerhead is actually better all around too. So there's that. The ion cannon on the Barracuda and the hammerhead, range 60, heavy 3, strength 7, -2 AP, and then 2 damage, and you can overcharge it to improve those stats. So, a solid gun that's going to be able to do a fairly good job at targeting heavy infantry vehicles, anything that has multiple wounds, it's actually going to do a fairly nice job there. And so I think the ion cannon is really the way to go with this, just because it does give you multi-damage, which is kind of an important thing for this type of weapon. For a main weapon that you're going to be using against heavy units, you want that multi-damage, and the ion cannon is going to give that to you, and the heavy burst cannon is not. So I would go with the ion cannon here. For your secondary weapons, you have either those burst cannons, or you can change those into cyclic ion blasters. And the cyclic ion blasters are assault weapons, so they are not going to suffer that -1 to hit penalty that every other weapon that you can take would. And so I really do think that that's a benefit to this loadout if you take cyclic ion blasters. But really, either of them are going to be good. You get you know, a cheaper option and a higher output option with the long barrel burst cannon, but you are -1 to hit. So I think having the cyclic ion blaster actually outweighs that, and is more versatile and actually does a better job with that. So I would stick with the cyclic ion blaster if you have the points. And similarly, seeker missiles, you can take up to 4 seeker missiles on this guy. And for one thing, it's a really cool thing from a modeling perspective, the way that they have the seeker missiles kind of coming out underneath the Barracuda. But from a tactical standpoint, I love seeker missiles. I think they're actually a really good points investment in general. But this is about the worst platform that you could put them on, just because you're always going to be moving, and so at best you're going to be hitting at 4s, or 3s, I guess, if you have enough marker light support. But really, it's going to be hard to get these guys off. Hammerheads are a much better platform for seeker missiles, and you know, so in this situation I would take them if you have the points, but you keep in mind you're basically getting half the points efficiency on the seeker missile here as you would in a hammerhead. So, you know, you can take 4, but it's really the same as taking 2 on a hammerhead, which is, you know, the maximum that a hammerhead can take. So there's that. Overall, I think the loadout would be, you know, ion through and through. You have your missile pods, and then you have your seeker missiles too, and so it can actually put out a fair amount of damage. It's just not going to be as efficient as taking multiple hammerheads, and I think that's really where the crux of the argument is, that they're not going to be as points efficient offensively as hammerheads are. They do have some advantages, though. They are more durable and harder to hit, so I think they can actually fill a really nice role as a distraction unit, as something that can stay on the table for the duration of the game and do some damage, whereas hammerheads are going to be, you know, higher priority, are going to be more easily assaulted, everything like that. To kind of counterbalance that, again, though, hammerheads are able to hold objectives, and flyers are not able to, as per the new chapter approved in FAQ. So because of that, I would not take a bunch of Barracudas. At most, I would take 1, and only if you are going for kind of a vehicle theme or something like that. I think there are better choices for anti-vehicle and for your army in general than a Barracuda. Hammerheads are good. Barracudas are kind of a second tier unit at best, I think, but I do like them. I think they can play an important role in a distraction type of strategy. So that's it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you're running Barracudas and they're the best thing ever, I'd love to hear it. If you are, you know, running them and they're ruining your games, also good to know. So thanks for watching, and of course, happy wargaming.